Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining Sharis and myself for some tea in the evening. We have a lovely summer sunset, so we're enjoying an iced tea today. So what do we have?
Well, this is a raspberry zinger from the company Celestial Seasonings. It's just very light, very refreshing, and the day was so warm.
Yeah.
And the sun on our backs right now is like, we want an iced tea.
Yeah.
And it's very lovely. I've already drank most of mine, just sitting here getting ready to start. So it's very lovely.
It is. I like a fresh squeeze of lemon in mine because I like things tart. But
yeah, I like a fresh squeeze of stevia sweet drops in mine because I like things sweet. So
it works for both of us.
yes, it does.
All right. This week we wanted to discuss something. It really came to my mind over the last week or so as we've been talking with each other and some other women that we know. And it caused me to reflect on, okay, what are the things that have really helped me and helped Sharis kind of solidify our family and how it functions and how do we integrate? And I realized, we have one tool that we've really utilized that has been, I would say, life-changing.
Yes.
And that is that we meet together once a week. We call it a women's meeting. You can call it what you want, where we make time to discuss various things. And I'll kind of go over kind of an outline of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was thinking about it, so much of plural family dynamics that are difficult, polygynous families, any kind of integrated family that's, got multiple parents. It could just be a blended family, monogamous couple.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that you're trying to integrate many different people. And for us, we needed to be able to talk about our differences and kind of come together as a team.
Yeah, get on the same page.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
Yeah. So Sharis and I decided we wanted to kind of create a routine or is there something on?
There's bugs.
Okay, gross. We wanted to create a time where we could make space to discuss things.
Mm-hmm.
From the difficult to the mundane. And it's been incredibly helpful. I will give you an outline, okay, so I have literally a laminated piece of paper with a list of our talking points.
Yeah.
Because if we sit down to have a meeting and we don't have these bullet points, it's really easy to get off topic, to
just tangents, just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, or to avoid certain subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the first thing on our list is we go over the schedule. It's a really easy way to just start. So we kind of discuss each of our individual schedules in the week coming up, kind of in the month coming up.
Yeah, and then just overlap that with, family schedule, what's happening, shopping trips, any birthdays, any anniversaries that need to be, we need to make space for, anything like that. So yeah, that's just a very, very simple way to kind of get into the meeting zone and to just we're here, we're discussing things, we're figuring things out. Let's start with something simple.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then we move on to, I have it listed here as stewardships.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's a chance for us to share what we're kind of in charge of. For example, I'm in charge of meal planning. So I could talk to her about okay, the meal planning's done. I have one question. We have a guest at the end of the week. What do we think about this? Or they have this kind of dietary restriction. And you have barnyard stuff.
Barnyard, yeah. I take care of a lot of the animals outside. And so being able to share things like, we've got, X number of chickens coming up this weekend that are ready to be butchered, or we have baby goats due to be born, or rabbits due to be born, this type of stuff. Just so we just share what's going on in our different responsibilities. We're different wheels trying to keep this vehicle moving forward, and it's important that we just kind of check back in with each other and just kind of report, so to speak, so that everybody's kind of aware of what's going on, but doesn't have to be so involved in the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah, I don't need to know all the breeding schedules of all the rabbits, but it's kind of nice to know when
Yeah.
they're going to have babies and other
Yep.
things so she can give me a highlight reel of what's going on in the barnyard and
Yep.
vice versa. And it's just so helpful because there's so many moving parts to a large family.
Yes.
And that's what we realize is, as we have this family government, if you will, we have to check in with each other. We have to share ideas. We have to kind of be on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, so after we talk about stewardships, we talk about projects, any upcoming projects that we have, whether it's in the home, outside of the home, and what are we building, what are we working towards. And it's really nice to be able to recheck in on those because sometimes you need reminders. Oh yeah, I've got to get to this, or I've got to get to that, or
Yeah, or if you've got a very large project coming up that requires everybody's help, to be able to make kind of a family event of it and to be, again, on the same page where all that's concerned. You can get a lot done with people working together with one goal in mind. And so just get us all on the same page. What are the projects, both in the home and out, that we're going to focus on this month or this week?
After that, we have a time where we discuss the children and the family. You know how it is. You raise kids, stuff comes up, you've got to address it. And so this gives us a chance to bring up issues or something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
Like if somebody has a pattern of misbehavior, or they're continually overlooking something, or just something that we need to kind of recognize.
Yeah, just anything. And it can even be a positive thing as well. Just anything that needs to be brought up where a child is concerned. This is the space to do it in.
Right. And we do like to focus not just on the negatives, but also bring up the things like, oh, Misty, she was so helpful today, and I've just been noticing her being really helpful over the last few weeks, and I just want to acknowledge that. It's a way for us to share critiques. And, it's kind of hard when you've got somebody else helping raise your children, where it's like maybe you don't want to face the misbehaviors of your own kids.
Yeah, that can be really rough to have somebody else point out what your kid is doing wrong. And so it's been a real area of growth. I know for myself, I believe for both of us. But we recognize that if we are going to come to this space and talk about something that's going on with each other's children, we also need to come to the space willing to hear things about our own children that we might not enjoy acknowledging, or that we know is a problem, but we just really didn't want to deal with it yet, And so I think it's very important as we do that, we try to remember what the overall goal is for the child. We all love these children, and we want them to be happy when they're adults, and that means they have to learn how to get along with other people. They have to learn how to shoulder responsibility. They have to learn how to be relied on.
Yeah.
And so when Vanessa brings up something to me about my children, if I put myself in that frame of mind that, okay, this is important for my child's growth, that they overcome this. It doesn't matter who points it out to me. What matters is that we do what's best for my child. And what's best for them is to overcome and to fix these little personality quirks sometimes that can be off-putting to people and that will cause them grief in the future as they try to maintain adult relationships.
Yeah.
So it can be a very difficult part of the meeting, but I'd say it's one of the most important.
Sharis and I have agreed that in these meetings we come to it with the spirit of wanting the best version of ourselves and the best version of our children and what's best for everybody. And so we really come with a lot of humility and gentleness for the other person. It's easy to go into attack mode if you want to give a criticism, but that is not the most productive way to do it. So we've discovered, okay, if we come all being humble and try to look at these things for what they are and be grateful to be able to see the things that need addressing. Yeah. And then honestly, when we bring up an issue, for example, maybe it's with a child, it's not like, well, here's a problem, you got to deal with it. It's here's a problem, how can we deal with this? How can I help this person, give them strength, give them guidance, give them whatever they need? And it's been really good. And honestly, we do that with each other too. there is a category. Next on the list is business, and we just talk about business stuff. But right after that is an anything else, and that includes anything personal that we would want to share.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us that space to talk to each other, because so much of the difficulties of this lifestyle is, how do you integrate yourself to a larger picture while still maintaining your individuality?
Yes.
And having these meetings has been really helpful for that, because we each have a chance to speak for ourselves and to come together willingly to kind of find a common vision
Mm-hmm.
and work towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great space to bring up anything, not just that maybe the other person has done that's bothered you, but that you've done that
Mm-hmm.
you know it was not your best moment. It's like,
Yeah.
so you remember the other day when I said this or I did this? That was wrong, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have
Yeah.
done that. I shouldn't have let myself get to this point. There were things going on, this type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that space is there as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's important to go into it with the right mindset. If you view it as an attack,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be on the defensive.
Yeah.
But if it's just someone who has the same goals in mind as you, who wants what's best for you, who wants what's best for your children and family, and you remain humble, you can take that information and use it to better yourself, use it to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
In the beginning, it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Yeah.
Because, we all can be guarded. And especially when we feel like there's criticisms, because Evan knows we all have things that we can criticize about each other, and they're legitimate a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is, in the beginning, it was scary. We made a point too, and it was
rough.
It was rough because we had to learn how to discuss things with each other.
Yeah.
We had to learn the skill of communication with each other. And even though it was rough, it was still worth it. So we continued to pursue it.
Yeah.
And now we've kind of learned each other's language, if you will. And so we know better how to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So if there is something that needs to be addressed, one, we are practiced in giving and receiving criticism and in helping each other. And so if you give me a criticism, it's the sting of, oh, yeah, you're right, that needs to change or whatever. It's lessened by the fact that it's like, okay, I've been here before, done this, and I know that it's just her observations are legitimate or whatever.
Yeah, and something you said there I think is very important to point out. You said we had to learn how to give and receive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's... My brain feels a little bit foggy this evening. But it's just as important as receiving criticism, learning how to give it.
Mm-hmm.
And giving it for the right reasons.
Yeah, let's not lie to ourselves and say that.
Yeah.
Like, it would be really easy to say, oh, I'm just doing it for their own good. You really have to be careful.
Yeah.
Because you can talk yourself into feeling really great about your criticisms. That's not always the best thing. But
you have
if you really have a desire to give criticisms, not to hurt, not to just to be mean, but to help everybody kind of function a little better.
Yeah, there's a way to receive it, and there's also a way to give it.
Mm-hmm.
And both have to be learned, and they are different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a really interesting journey, an interesting study of an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's the outcome is worth it, but my goodness, the journey can be terrifying as you learn these skills between two people. But again, it's worth it. It's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's truly humbling because
Yeah.
when you've got somebody and you're like, okay, tell me what I did wrong, but I don't want to hear it, but I want to hear it.
yeah, you have to want to become the best possible version of yourself. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very, very interesting exercise in personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And then we always try to end all of our discussion with a spiritual thought. So many times we discuss just the the running of the household, and then if we need to, we discuss some of the problems, the hurdles we need to overcome. And honestly, lately I feel like when we bring things up that are kind of difficulties, we're both in the same spot with it. It's like, okay, you're right. Let's look at this issue. Like, why do the kids leave dirty clothes in that pile? Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not so much you versus me anymore. It's us versus
Problems.
the household or the problems or things like that.
Yeah, so I do feel very much that we're on the same team. We've learned how to be on the same team because we've learned how to work together. And so now it's like, okay, why do the kids leave the dirty clothes there? Can we figure out a way that will help them and that we can streamline things? Because life's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually want to backtrack a little bit, back to our anything else category.
Mm-hmm.
There is one other thing that sometimes we talk about in that category that I think is important as polygynist wives.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is we're married to the same man.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also gives us a moment to talk about Jeff and to figure out what is the best way we can support him in his goals and what he's trying to accomplish. And there is some real power in that. Yeah. When they talk about, behind every good man is a good woman, but behind these polygynous men, if your wives can band together for you and be there together to support you, it can be a really powerful thing.
Right.
And so there's just that as well, that gives us an opportunity to discuss Jeff and what could we do to help him with his goals.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's a really excellent thing to do. And honestly, that's what we want for all of us, is to know that we all have each other's back. How can we help each other?
Yeah.
But we've had to learn the language. We've had to learn the skills. Honestly, as good as everyone's intentions are, you mix 2 or more people together in the same household, you are going to come up against problems because every single person is different.
Yep.
Everybody has different strengths, different weaknesses, different personalities, different drives. And even though we've chosen basically the same vision, like how we get there is so individual.
Yeah, our styles are so different.
Yeah.
From in so many different ways and areas. And so trying to get on the same page is great, but moving forward as one is also something that we have to figure out. And how can we honor the other person's individuality and keep that alive while working in a group setting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's something. And about once a month we'll have Jeff sit in and join us for one of these meetings. And that's really important for him. But I don't think he feels like once a week. It's excessive for him. I think once a month, it's nice to get on the same page with him. But really, this is kind of running of the household, and so much of it is just what we do.
Yeah.
So we really started it even without him. It was just like, we got to figure this out. How are we going to do this?
Yeah, I think way, way back in the beginning, we would notice that if we sat down and discussed an issue we were having with each other or with the house or whatever, we could figure it out and move forward. But if we brought Jeff into it, or would go to Jeff individually, be like, I have this problem, I don't know how to solve it. Could you please talk to Vanessa and see if we can't get on the same page? It felt safer because, he's my husband.
Right.
And you're supposed to go to your husband with your problems. But it was just we figured out, it's like, this is an extra step. And it doesn't have to be there. We all have the same goals in mind. We all want the same things. We want peace and a functional household. We should be able to sit down and talk about these things. We don't have to go through Jeff for everything. What can we figure out on our own? And so that's kind of how these meetings started happening. And then it just worked out so well.
Yeah.
So there are, I would say, not so much anymore, but there are occasions where we can't quite see eye to eye. We can't get on the same page. And that's another area where we'll bring Jeff in. Be like, okay, so we having trouble figuring this one out. What are your thoughts? And, just having that third perspective can sometimes be very helpful. But for the most part, just you and I figure things out now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And this is the reason why I love it so much and having it on a regular basis is because it's really nice and tempting to avoid the confrontations. So tempting to just don't mention it. just criticize each other, behind their backs and just be grumpy about it. This is a proactive way that we've discovered that's like, okay, let's do this. Let's be for real. Let's talk about it. And like I said in the beginning, it was not comfortable. But the more we do it, it's very comfortable. In fact, now it's a highlight. Like if something happens and we miss it, I'm like, oh man, we didn't have our meeting. Now I don't know what's on your schedule, and I feel a little bit lost. And also, we need to make tea again.
It's become something that's very important, and it's nice to have an area of your life where you're accomplishing so much while enjoying yourself and while relaxing as well.
Right.
And so it's become a very
pleasant
and stabilizing
yes
ritual that we have now.
It has. And honestly, like I said, it's a place to discuss things and share criticisms, but it's also a place for us to cultivate our friendship.
Yeah.
And
these bugs are getting bad. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Cut off your thought.
Was there one even to begin with? Probably not.
Potentially. It was about to be one.
No. Yeah. It's something that I find such value and enjoyment in now. And so, not everything works for every person and for every situation. Like I said, everyone is different in any relationship. And so every family is different. What works for us may not work for everybody. But I think the spirit of it is something that could be very useful. You have a family government of loving parents and children and the running of a household. That's pretty much going to be the case for everybody. How do you communicate with each other? How do you stay on the same page with each other? Do you give yourself a chance to air your grievances? Do you give yourself a chance to support each other? And I would highly recommend it. And
it's a very common thing, I think, for people to try to ignore problems. If I just don't talk about it, just ignore it. It doesn't exist, right? It won't be an issue if I just don't bring it up. It's like, no, that doesn't work. It just festers. It just becomes a bigger problem that you then have to deal with down the road, and it's harder down the road. So don't, even if these women's meetings don't work for you, find something that does, because not having these discussions leads to more discomfort and more problems than having them.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it's not even about giving criticisms. It's a chance for you to speak up. Some women are timid. I feel like I was timid for a long time. And so it gives everyone a chance to speak for themselves and to share their perspectives.
Yeah.
And there's so much value in that.
Yeah. Well, I think that about covers it. We've come to the end of our list. I'm out of tea. So
I'm not.
I know. I'm looking at that going, I should have brought down a second cup. It was just so good. I didn't think I'd drink it
it's
so
so
fast.
delicious. So refreshing.
Isn't
It's
it
so
just?
yummy. Don't you wish you had a full glass like me?
I do. I do. I'm going to get another cup since we go up to the house. So,
well, thanks everybody for joining us. And I hope that kind of some of what we've talked about maybe sparks some inspiration and encourages anybody to, find a system that works for you, for your family, and how do you bring up these topics, and how do you find a way to cultivate your relationships, especially when there's so many different personalities involved.
Yeah.
And
how do you bring all those personalities onto the same page and focused towards the same goal? Yeah.
So, hope you'll join us next time, and have a good week.
Thank you.